Hey, thanks for watching. If you want more tips and tools on how to be a spiritual vixen, go on over to my website, MaureenMuldoon.com, and you can sign up for my love notes. Until then, I'm Maureen Muldoon, the spiritual vixen, reminding you to love more, fear less, and don't forget to laugh. Today we're going to be talking about getting fired up, and invoking that inner passion, right? And how important that is to really own that and to know that and how to activate it. And I came across this really funny story about Maurice Sediak, who wrote Where the Wild Things Are, right? And he wrote this book, and he has these great, fans that are all about this high, right? So this one fan wrote him a letter, and Maurice wrote him a letter back, and he drew on it a little wild thing. And the kid gets this letter, and he's so fired up by it, and he's so excited that he got this letter that his mom wrote back to Maurice and said he ate it. He ate the letter. Like, he didn't think this is a piece of artwork from a famous artist. I can share this with my, my children once I read this book to them. But he was like, no, I love this so much, I need to consume it. And there's something majestic and there's something miraculous and very magical about carrying that much passion within you. And along the way of life, sometimes we let that become eroded. And yet that is the thing, the gas in the tank that's going to lead you to your greatest yet to be.
Yeah, we're talking
so
about
being fired up. So the other day I was up at the Himalayan Yoga Institute in the Poconos, and my daughter and I went in there to get her acclimated. She's going to be doing some work there. And they handed us a packet, and it was how we were supposed to comport ourselves while we were on campus. And inside the packet was a list of the yamas and the niyamas, and they're from the Hindu philosophy, and they're basically the guiding suggestions for yogis. And so the yamas are what to not do. Will wrote a play a couple of years ago called Things to Not Do, which was so awesome. So this reminds me of that. Things to not do, and there was like, stealing and non-violence. And that's why when you meet yogis, most of them are vegetarian, because it's based on that principle, non-violence. And then the niyamas are the things to do. So purity of spirit, and the third niyama is tapas, which is self-discipline, and it means fire. And so the tapas is about cultivating the fire, and they have specific ways of going about doing that. And they believe that this fire, that inner fire, is important enough to make it a part of their guiding posts. And we see this in other philosophies, but not too many philosophies do we see, how to cultivate fire. And one of the books that I came across was really famous back in like the 90s is, maybe some of you remember this, with The Road Less Traveled. And it's by M. Scott Peck. And he talks about the things we don't want to talk about. He talks about delayed self-gratification. Throw that away. And he talks about responsibility, and he talks about facing challenges, welcoming challenges, And so, but these are ways that we can actually build up our inner fire. So in regards to delayed gratification, the reason that the delay of gratification helps us to stoke that fire is because it increases the vitality in the same way that it increases the vitality of little children at Christmas Eve. They're so fully lit up, they're like, whoa, they're going to pop, they're so excited, And it's because of delayed gratification. It's because of they're burning with anticipation for their good. And we don't usually see that, and we certainly don't practice that. When was the last time you were so excited you literally had to hold your crotch for fear that you would piss yourself? You were so excited. You know what I mean? And that's where they live, So when you see them, like, they're like, oh. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about containing that much enthusiasm so that it can be well directed in our life. That's our inner gas. So we want to cultivate not just a tolerance for patience, but a celebration of delayed gratification. Hunger is the best sauce, and patience is the aspect that creates kings and queens. We fear that we will not be gratified in the delay. Because when we think about delay, it always comes with we were delayed. Yeah. Nothing can happen good in the delay. You know, it just means that something bad is happening. We were delayed. But what if there's magic in the delay? What if the delay is a gift, you know? Maybe we reinterpreted the idea of the delay and actually use that for our benefit. Because you know what? It's going to happen. We might as well look forward to it and say, oh my gosh, it's the delay. We never get to be delayed. You know, and that means what Mary said to us, plot twist. Thank God there are plot twists in our life, or else we'd be bored to death. You know, God's throwing us a surprise party. So, and we think, well, the delay is going to kill us. You know what's going to kill us? The monotony. The well-planned life will kill us. It will suck us from everything good, beautiful, and holy. That's what I'll say about that. So the question is, and I want you to think about these questions when we start the conversation, where are you rushing through life? Where are you pre-planning everything? Where are you edging out God from throwing you a surprise party? Where are you delaying? Where can you find gratification in your delay? The next thing that we're going to try and cultivate is responsibility. And when we took the course of creating, we talked about taking 100% responsibility for our life. So taking responsibility helps to build that inner fire. How? It helps us because if you're truly taking responsibility, you are standing up, you are speaking up, and you are showing up in your life. That's what it looks like when you take responsibility. Showing up and speaking up takes that fire and that fortitude. Fortitude means courage in the face of adversity. You know, that's what it is. And all of us can benefit from cultivating this experience because, again, life has these opportunities and these obstacles. And if we don't build up that inner fire, it's going to burn us down, as opposed to make us like phoenixes that can rise from it. Taking responsibility enables us to trust. Trust is the first aspect of a good teacher of God. You know, and there's this great portion in the book. It wasn't by the author, but it was by a guy named Alan Jones who said, one of our problems is that very few of us have developed any distinct personal life. Everything about us seems secondhand, even our emotions. I thought that was interesting. I was like, where are my emotions secondhand? When we just think, oh, well, this happened, so I must respond like this. I had this one experience where most of the deaths in my life came slowly. So I got to see it like a train showing up to the station, and we were prepared for it. But this one time I was in Hollywood working on a set, and I got news that a really dear friend of mine, like a sister I would say, died suddenly. And I flew outside myself, and I saw myself fold in on myself, and I was done. I was just spent. I was like, and I thought to myself, that's how people respond in movies. Like I didn't even know if that emotion was organically mine or something that I had been shown and taught, you know? So when I think about secondhand emotions, like, are we really being authentic to how we feel in that moment? Or are we just following a script that we don't even know to question? That's an interesting concept. So he goes on to say, in many cases, we have to rely on secondhand information in order to function, accepting the word of a physician, of a scientist, of a farmer, on trust. And we don't always really like this, but we have to do it because they possess vital information or knowledge of living in which we might be arrogant or ignorant. So secondhand information concerning our state of our kidneys or the state of our cholesterol or the state of how to raise chickens, you know, would be something that we would have to accept. He goes on to say, but I cannot survive on secondhand faith in a secondhand God. There has to be a personal word, a unique confrontation if I am to come alive. How about that? A unique confrontation with you and your God. You know, have you developed that? Are you on fire with that? Is that something you've made a personal passion? Because to tell you, if you seek first your personal, unique confrontation with your God, everything else is given to you. That's how it works. You know, we can say it all 100 different ways, but the still content is the truth. A unique confrontation. The question is, are you having that? Are you leaving your mark? Are you speaking your truth? Are you still asking for permission? Are you still checking the stars and the horoscopes? Stop. Go within. You know, talk to your God. He, she has all the information you could ever want. Get so fired up that voice becomes the loudest one in your head, instead of the mad ramble of the ego that says you can't do it, it's too late, it's not going to happen. So when we begin to take charge of our life, to own ourselves, there's no longer that need for permission. And we show up like a hot knife on fire, you know? And that's what you're born to do. So taking 100% responsibility is a powerful way to get fired up, to even just say, I'm here to be 100% responsible for blank. What is that blank? Do you know what that is that you're 100% responsible for? And it can be, look, I'm responsible for my family right now, for growing and being present in this most beautiful state, this moment when we're raising a new baby. I mean, that's a thing to be 100% responsible for, because a lot of us in that time check out. You know, we go, oh my God, too much. You know, got to go watch TV. Not that TV's bad, but Wayne Dyer says, you know, excuses no more. This mentality will get you fired up. And then the final one is being open to challenges. God, doesn't sound like good news today, does it? But we're going to get into the surrender experiment. We're going to get into this book that Mary and Pam are presencing for the next 2 months called The Surrender Experiment, which we covered before. It's a great book. And what he says is that you don't just be open to all the good. That's a Pollyanna perspective. But be open to everything. So be open to the challenges, knowing that you can meet them. So where are you hiding? Where are you avoiding challenges? Where are you escaping into food or sex or drugs or rock and roll? What's your sedative of choice? Get to know it so that when it starts presencing itself more often in your life, you can go, oh, this is how I numb myself out. I got to be aware of that, you know? So if we find a way to avoid challenges or find ways to make it easier, then the fire will not be strong. The fire will be sedated. And how about that for an oxymoron? Who wants a sedated fire? I don't think it's possible. Wah, wah, wah. So there was this quote by this woman who's a Sufi, Llewellyn Vong Lee, who says that it's thanks to being presented with things, it's thanks to being presented with things to let go of, that we become in our entirety wood for the fire of love. You know, to really let ourselves be burned. You know, not be afraid of the fire. Burn from me that which is not God. Om Namah Shivaya. Like really live on the cusp of that fiery, flamey place, you know, that says I'm going to move through this. These are just some of the tools that can stoke that inner fire. Delayed gratification, taking 100% responsibility, open to challenges. We're talking about putting on your big girl pants, big boy pants today, you know. These are the things, the conversations that we kind of don't want to really pay attention to, but there is magic in this. There is miracles in it. So being open to challenges, this is not only empower you, but it will cause growth. And Speakeasy is here to cause personal growth. That's what we're all about. You know? I mean, yeah, we're here to be happy and encourage each other, but we're literally here to challenge each other to be a greater idea of ourselves. And when we're talking about fire, we also want to pay attention to fire is powerful. So we want to be aware of that kind of fire, to not be burned by it, but to be ignited by it. Those are two different things. And there are people who have their fire and who hold it and who direct it in such a meticulous way that we can see as way showers. Martin Luther King, magnificent man of fire. You know, he burned through old assumptions for our community in such a graceful way. He didn't get burned by it. He in the end, but you know, he didn't get burnt out by it. He took his fire with him and he didn't burn anybody else. He got, you know, even when it came to crossing that bridge at Selma, he didn't move forward fiery. He didn't burn that bridge down. He literally stopped it and said, let's turn back. It took a great deal of control to be able to hold that fire and know that I'm responsible for not getting anyone burned. I mean, there is a great grace and capacity in the way that he used his fire. If that's available in one person, that's available in all of us. And to think that that's the optimal potential, then we can say, am I living in that potential? You know, am I really activating that inner fire, or have I been sedated by my own will? Because the only one who's sedating you is you. And that's about taking 100% responsibility. So firing so in working with the energy of fire, control is very important. And fire, building fire, working with your own fire, that will be a game changer for you. And I want you to start thinking about that, journaling on it, talking about it, making it a part of your vernacular. The fire is our own internal motivational system. That's it. I mean, I can fire you up on Sunday morning, but if you don't have it and carry it with you, it will get depleted. And so you have to start to begin to understand how you can activate your own motivational internal system. And the fire of that comes when we say, I got this, I will not fold in on myself, I will not abandon myself, and I will show up for myself. Are we showing up for ourselves? When we're fired up, you show up. You know, you show up physically, creatively, spiritually, mentally. You put yourself on your priority list. And you say, you know what? I'm going to leave a mark here. I got to make sure that I am coming fully tanked up. So when you don't honor your fire, when you don't pay attention to your fire, you will see yourself agitated. You will see yourself depressed. Depression is just inward fire turned in on itself. That's all it is. You will see yourself with low energy, intolerance. So these are just signs that say, oh, let's get correct with this fire. Let's not be afraid of it. It's just your fire saying to you, pay attention to me. I got energy to burn, you know. Work out. Take that energy and work out. Take that energy and do something creative. You know, when you're invested in a creative endeavor with a team of people or even by yourself and you're like so fired up, you're like, this is going to be awesome. Yeah. Like, that's where you want to funnel your fiery energy. Take the dog for a walk. Go have sex. You don't get to hear that often in church. But go have sex. You know? Because, you know, here's the thing. You're in charge of your energy. You know, you can be aware of it and responsible for it, or you can get burnt by it or burnt out by it. And we hear so many people being burnt and burnt out. And why is that? Because they didn't take care of their fire. They didn't take care of their energy. Your energy literally means your resources. It means your time. It means your finances. So be sure that you're spending your time and your resources on things that feed and fuel you. Otherwise, you'll become depleted again. Now, you know, this doesn't mean that this means that you're going to set the world on fire all the time. It doesn't mean that, because that would be, you know, there has to be an ebb and flow with it. But when you get fired up in your life and your purpose and you get your deal, it even means that sometimes that you're not going to rush towards it on fire, but sometimes it means that you're literally going to lean back and take stock. And you're going to slowly stoke this fire. Sometimes that's what it looks like too. There's another quote from this book, The Road Less Traveled, that says, each of us makes our own path through life. There's no self-help manuals, no formulas, no essays, no easy answers. The right road for one is the wrong road for another. The journey of life is not paved in blacktop. It's not brightly lit. It has no road signs. It's a rocky path through the wilderness. That's what it is. If you're on the hero's journey, if you're not conforming, that's what it looks like. If you're conforming, you can take the blacktop with the well-lit things and just go travel on the road to mindlessness, if that's what you're about. But I don't think you are. Otherwise, you'd be at some other church, kneeling and getting up and kneeling and getting up, and not to put anyone else down. But this is a thought. This is a community of people who think outside the box. You know, because you're on a hero's journey. We're on a hero's journey, and the hero takes fire with it to light its path. And the path, I think The Road Less Traveled, this book, was inspired by that poem. I don't know for sure, but I think it was. So, you know, he's talking about the hero's journey. He goes on to say, it is the whole process of meeting and solving problems, literally coming up against obstacles, that gives life meaning. Problems are the cutting edge that distinguishes between success and failure. Problems call forth our courage, our wisdom. Indeed, they create our courage and wisdom. It's only because of problems that we grow mentally and spiritually, and it's through the pain of confronting and resolving problems that we learn. These are our classrooms. And it's interesting to me that a lot of times when we meet up against a classroom, we run back and hide under the bed, you know? And it's like, yeah, I don't want to have that harder conversation. So don't take the easy path, you know? Don't take the one take the one less traveled, and challenge yourself to show up and grow up. No matter how old you are, you can still grow up. Grow up to a higher ideal of yourself. Facing your fears will not kill you. You know, there's a flock of phoenixes that live within you. That's what I was thinking about this morning. There's a flock of phoenixes that live within each of us. Most of us think, I have one phoenix, she's going to rise and rise from the ashes. But literally, imagine a flock of phoenixes. Imagine that you can rise and then rise again, and then rise again, and then rise again. You know, I personally have faced many obstacles that I've, fallen from and then gotten up from, So I know that we have the potential within us, and anybody who's risen from anything has given us a path to go, But you're going to have to find your own path as well. And you might be cutting a path in an area that nobody's cut before. And that's why it's so important that you stay on fire and hold that high watch. So we think that the fire of life will consume us, but they will not. They will transform us. And you'll burn through what holds you back. And this is done by consistency and self-discipline. That's it. That's the good news and the bad news. Consistency and self-discipline, self-motivation. Think about that little engine that could. He didn't talk about anything else except, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. That's all he said the whole time. He didn't go, oh, look at that, that's pretty, or, oh God, they're coming up behind me. No, he was like, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. He needed to stoke that fire, and push forward through the resistance so we can break through to the reserve of energy. And the other side of that resistance, there's so much energy waiting for you, believe it or not. When I was a practitioner, when I first became a practitioner, they taught us about speaking prayers from the fire in the belly. And they told us, we want to tell you how you can get there, like I'm telling you how to get there today, but I cannot activate that for you. You got to do your own work. I could set a chart, I work with clients and I can tell them the next right steps. I can do a lot of things for them, but I can't want it more than them. You got to want it for yourself. And it's not just the fire in the belly. The fire has to live in every aspect of you. As my friend Bonnie would say, BLT, belief, love, and trust. To have a sharp mind fired up in wisdom. Continue to feed your brain. A passionate, a fiery heart. Continue to take yourself to those places that ignite you. Fire in the belly, a passion, an enthusiasm for life. Cultivating the fire when our egos say, no, I don't want to get up. I want to sleep in today. When we're held online with the operator for an extra half hour, that's when we're going to need the fire. When we don't get the seat on the full bus, that's when we're going to need the fire in those places. When we want to gossip about somebody, and we're like, oh, you got to hold your tongue. That's when you're going to need the fire. Believe me, it's hard. But when life goes low, our fire helps us to go high. Become a zealot for your own personal code of ethics. Requires consistency. No excuses for people who are living on fire and on purpose. And not because the Bible tells you, and not because the Bhagavad Gita, and not because the yamas and the niyamas or the mamas and the papas. None of that. Do it for you. Do it for you because your life is that important. And don't be afraid of your own fire. Throw yourself in a little bit. Get your passion out. Take a risk. Go where the map is uncharted. Please do that for all of us. Sit close to the fire because whether you do or you don't, you're going to get seared. Life will burn each of us for sure. It will, but it's the toasty ones that are the most tasty. We all get burned. It's the truth. It's the truth. So, when the sand leaves the hourglass of your life, I want each of us to be able to stand on it and say, yeah, I did that. I spent that. I lived that. I burned that. I used everything that I had. I didn't phone it in. I didn't take the easy road. I showed up. I showed up to my fear. I lived on the cusp of my fear, and I lived in the constant state of moving forward, of consistently stepping forward. I took that road less traveled. I took that road less traveled. And that does make all the difference. And that's the word. So what do you think? I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below, or you can go ahead and sign up for our newsletter at speakeasyspiritualcommunity.com so we can keep the conversation going. Because Speakeasy is all about engaging in engaging conversations. Everything is better when we all share our voice. I'm Maureen Muldoon, your spiritual vixen, reminding you to love more and fear less, and don't forget to laugh. What do you say?